welcome to our class today. My name is Dr. Joram, and I'll be taking you through the introduction to human anatomy and physiology. So, first of all, this topic is actually meant to give you some basic introduction to understanding the human body, and also making sure that you get to know the functions of those various body structures. So let us go straight and see what we have ahead of us. Now, the learning objectives for this short course is as follows. So the first objective is that by the end of it, you should be able to define human anatomy and physiology. You should also be able to describe the various specialties and also disciplines which encompass this topic. And also you should be able to explain the relationships between anatomy and physiology. Now, let us look at basic definition of terms. So we have anatomy and physiology. So what is anatomy? So in other words, you tend to look at anatomy in form of a structure. So anatomy is derived from the Greek word. So the main root is ana, which means a part. And then we also have another root, tom. So tom basically in Greek means to cut. So this basically is the study of the human, the form of the human body. Okay. So therefore, by definition, you can say that human anatomy is the study of the internal and the external structures of the human body and the physical relationships among them. So mainly focus on those two. That is the study of the internal and external structures of the human body and also the physical relationships. Remember, the human body structures correlate. They tend to work together. So let us look at the other definition, and that is human physiology. So in as much as anatomy focuses on the structure, physiology on the other hand looks at the function. Okay, so physiology is the study of how the systems of the body work, and they usually looks at the way in which they integrate the cooperation in order to maintain life. Okay, so it's about how the body functions so as to achieve the main purpose of maintaining life. So how do we define human physiology? So human physiology basically is the study of how the human body performs vital functions. So you will look at it in this manner. Human physiology focuses on the study of how the human body structures perform their vital functions. Now, of course, this being a large field, we have subdivisions. Okay, so we have certain approaches under which we can study this course of human anatomy and physiology. So let us start with the divisions of anatomy. So the divisions of anatomy are usually divided into different specialties, and this one is based on the degree of structural detail under consideration. So what I'm saying is that you will choose to study human anatomy by focusing on two major fields. The first one is microscopic anatomy, and by microscopic anatomy, you look at the tiny structures, okay? Just like the way the name microscopic, micro means small, so you're focusing on the small structures, and those structures you actually need or require the microscope. And then you have the gross, or what we also call macroscopic anatomy. Macro means large, so gross anatomy focuses on those structures which are large enough that you do not require any magnification. Okay, now let us look at the first division, that is microscopic anatomy. And just like I've said, microscopic anatomy focuses on the study of the structures which cannot be seen without magnification. Okay, we usually use the microscope whenever we are studying this division. So we have two subdivisions again. For microscopic anatomy, we have the first division being cytology, and cytology is basically the study of cells. Okay, so you will require some microscope to study the cells. And then we have the second subdivision, which is histology. Under histology, you study the tissues. Okay, so hist is medical terminology for tissues. So histology, you are studying tissues by use of microscope. Now let us look at the other subdivision, which is macroscopic or gross anatomy. So under macroscopic or gross anatomy, we study parts of the body which are visible to the naked eye. So in other words, you do not require any magnification whenever you're studying this division. So you look at structures which are large enough for you to visualize. and understand. So these structures include the heart, the brain, and so on. So this division of anatomy has got various other subdivisions. So we have the first one, regional anatomy. Under regional anatomy, we focus on the specific areas of the body, and in this case, we may choose to study the body by looking at the head, the neck, the trunk. Okay, so all those structures. So you are focusing on specific regions of the body. We also have another subdivision, which is surface anatomy. So under surface anatomy, you basically look at the general form. Okay, so you study the human body by looking at the general form and the superficial markings. And then we have the third subdivision, which is systemic anatomy. Under systemic anatomy, you study the structures of the organ systems. So you tend to look at the various organ systems. We usually have 11 body organ systems, ranging from the integumentary system, nervous system, the cardiovascular system, all those systems incorporated. So you will study the human body by looking at the various systems. And then we have developmental anatomy. Developmental anatomy is also known as embryology. Under developmental anatomy, you focus on the changes in form, which normally occurs during the period between conception until when we have a physically mature fetus. Okay, so that's that stage between conception, that is immediately after fertilization, until when we have a physically mature fetus. That is what we study under developmental anatomy. And then we have other subspecialties, which I usually regard them as specialist kind of approaches. So these include mechanical anatomy, radiographic anatomy, and surgical anatomy. So under mechanical anatomy, you focus on the anatomical features that change during illness. Okay, so whenever someone falls ill, there are sometimes changes which occur on the body structure. So those structures, or that is what we study under the mechanical anatomy. Now we have another subdivision, which is radiographic anatomy. So radiographic anatomy is also another specialist field whereby we study the human body using specialized imaging techniques. So such techniques include the X-rays. So you use MRI, you have the computerized topography, okay, and magnetic resonance imaging, including many others. So you study the human body by using special imaging techniques. And then we have the last subdivision, which is surgical anatomy. Under surgical anatomy, you focus on the anatomical landmarks, which are usually very important during surgery. Okay, so you tend to focus on those landmarks, which are very key whenever a doctor or a surgeon is undertaking a surgery. Now, let's go to the divisions of physiology. So, physiology, on the other hand, you'll find that because physiology tends to focus on the functions of the human body, it has more complex and more difficult, not difficult as such, but some of its divisions are complex. They are many than those ones of anatomy. So some of the specialties under physiology include the following. So we have cell physiology, and cell physiology, we all understand that this is the cornerstone of the human physiology. Actually, by studying the cells and the functions of those cells, you primarily get to understand the functioning of the human body. So cells physiology is basically the study of the functions of the cells, and this one deals with the events at the chemical and the molecular levels. And then we have special physiology. So under special physiology, this is where we study the physiology of special organs. For instance, we have renal physiology, whereby we study kidney functions. And then we have systemic physiology, which focuses on the function of specific organ systems. So we have the 11 body systems, cardiovascular system, for instance, we have respiratory system. So we have physiologies or functions of those particular systems. And these ones are what we study under systemic physiology. And then we have pathophysiology. Pathophysiology focuses on the study of the effects of diseases on organ or organ system functions. Okay, so pathos is basically a Greek word meaning disease. So modern medicine usually depends on understanding on both the normal physiology and also the pathophysiology. Now those ones are divisions of physiology. Now, if you look at these two discussions, what do you see as a common relationship between anatomy and physiology? So let us look at the relationship between anatomy and physiology. And this one takes us to what we call the principle of complementarity of structure and function. So there is some complementation, or there is a way in which the structure complements with the function. And this one is discussed or defined under this principle of complementarity. So the principle of complementarity of structure and function states that the function is usually dependent on the structure, and that the form of a structure relates to its function. Okay, so you can see that there is a way in which the function always depends on the structure. Okay, so what structure can do depends on its specific form. So the structure usually dictates the function. Now let's give an example of this. So a good example is the bone. So we have two major questions here. So what is the function of the bone, and also what is the structure of the bone that facilitates the function? So if you look at the bone matrix, you will understand that the bone is usually deposited with huge minerals or mineral deposits of calcium and phosphorus. So these minerals make them hard and strong. Okay, so bones are usually structurally organized to what we call the skeletal system. So the skeletal system, as we know, the functions is to protect the organs. We have the support of the body, okay, maintaining that rigid framework for upright posture, and then we have attachment to the muscles. So those are the common functions of the skeletal system. So if you look at the structure, they had mineral deposits, and then protection of organs and support. So you will find that they correlate. There is a way in which the structure, which is the hard mineral content, makes it capable to support the body's weight. That is the principle of complementarity. Now, I want us to stop there for today. That is the end of the introduction to human anatomy and physiology. Our next video will be on the structural organization of the human body. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.